records.
Would you agree that the destruction of Lulu Corda's records, if they were in fact destroyed, was inconsistent with that protocol?
I would agree 100%, because the last contact with her was someplace in 1997. And so that means that the full file should have been retained until 2004.
Do you know whether or not kids retained the records of any patients who were admitted in the 1980s but continued to receive treatment from kids within the last 7 years before it closed?
I would presume they did, but I don't know from personal contact with the records. Again, it's been a long time since I've seen lists, since I've seen any of that.
Did you make any attempt at any point to find out what happened to Lulu Corda's records?
First that I knew that the records were missing was in recent weeks. I thought, in terms of the state taking over the files, that perhaps there was some confusion because the files were organized in a certain way to facilitate annual destruction of files in the years ahead. And I thought maybe that they simply had confused what was where, so I didn't know. I had no way to know. I was not involved in the search for the file.
Is it your testimony that the first time you found out there was no Lulu Corda file was just a few weeks ago?
No, I have known for some months through Mr. O'Farrell that they were having difficulty finding it, but I assumed it was there someplace, and it was simply a matter of going through all the records to find it.
When physicians examined patients at kids, what records were kept of those examinations other than in the patient file?
Mr. Elberg, I don't know how to answer that question because we had two types of physicians at kids. We had general physical medical care physicians that took care of physical examinations and mental care health, and then we had psychiatric physicians that dealt with psychiatric and psychological issues. So I guess I need to know which group you're asking about.
I'm asking about the latter group.
Yeah, those were kept in the main clinical file, with the exception of medical prescriptions, which were kept in the medical file, for any psychotropic drugs.
The clinical file you just referred to was part of each individual patient's file?
Yes.
And the medical file, was that part of each patient's file?
Yes, each individual patient had two files, a clinical file, which was the main business we were in, treating people for psychological and behavioral issues. And then the medical file, which was a record of their physical medical care, which contained not only information from our physicians, but their own physicians that they might see for various issues.
And those would both be contained within the individual patient's file?
There were two different files. And I don't remember whether they were together in separate drawers, but they were in the same file room under the same custodian. I couldn't tell you whether they were next to each other or whether they were in separate drawers. I just don't know.
What did you review in connection with this deposition?
I looked over the interrogatories. I looked over the transcripts of the depositions of Jacqueline Gigante, of Aaron Hanrahan and Anthony Kazakowicz, and I read cursorily some observation book notes on Lulu Corda, her discharge summaries, and some incident reports, but not all of them.
Anything else?
Not that I can remember right off the top of my head.
Is there anything that you can tell us about the treatment of Lulu Corda that's not in the records that we have received?
I don't know. I have a few direct memories associated with Lulu Corda's treatment. I know that, that's the answer to the question.
Do you have direct memories associated with her intake into the program?
I do not.
Do you have direct memories of Lulu Corda during the period before 1990?
Yeah, but no incidents of treatment. I mean, no incidents about her phase movement, or I don't remember anything specifically about her in group or anything like that.
Let's take a look.